Thus far, we worked on the front end, and we can pick a file there. Now let's move on to the back end, and let's ensure that there we also accept such a file, so that you can indeed attach it to a request, and here on the back end we then extract it and store it. Now for that, we'll add a third-party package which helps us with that, Multer. You can just Google for Multer. It's a Node.js middleware, and it's built for Express.js as well, so a Node Express.js middleware to be precise, that helps us work with multipart form data. Now that's a specific type of request body we can submit to the backend. Thus far we used JSON data. Now we will actually switch to this different type of data for some requests. And the special thing about this type of data or this data format is that it can contain a mixture of normal text data and file data or binary data. Because JSON can only work with text data in the end. Of course, it can also include numbers, but ultimately that's all just text, right? You can print it. Now, binary data is different, and JSON format can't deal with binary data. Multipart form data can, and I will show you how to adjust our requests we send to the backend to use this kind of data. But first of all, let's prepare the backend with this package to accept such data. So for this, we need to run npm install --save multer, and then here you can learn all about it, but of course I will also guide you through the steps you need to do to set up Multer. So let's first of all install it on the backend, not on the front end, but on the backend. Let's run npm install --save multer. And this will now install this package into the backend. There, on the backend, I will now add a new folder, the middleware folder. You can name this folder however you want, but I create it because there I want to store my own custom middleware. And one middleware is the file-upload.js middleware. Of course, Multer already is a middleware that will help us, but I will basically configure it to my requirements and wrap it into my own middleware, which I then export. So how does this work? In the file-upload.js file, I will import Multer, first of all, like this. And with it imported, I will execute it as a function to which we can pass a configuration object. The result of this function is the actual file upload middleware Multer provides. And you find these same steps basically in the official Multer docs as well. So this is now a middleware, which we could use in our Express middleware chain. Therefore, here in the end, I will export file upload. So I will export this middleware. And then we can adjust our configuration here in a global place and use that pre-configured exported middleware in any other file we want. For example, in the user routes. There we have the sign up route. And on the sign up route, we of course want to accept images to be uploaded. So here we can import our file upload middleware by requiring it from the middleware folder, file upload like this. And then here, on the post request, on the sign up request, before we run any other middleware, we can add file upload.single image. This is how you use the Multer middleware. The concrete middleware is actually the result of this single call, file upload. So the thing I'm exporting here is not yet the middleware. It's an object that has a bunch of pre-configured middlewares. For example, a middleware to retrieve a single file, which we get access to with the single method. And then we have to specify the name in the to be expected body of the incoming request that will hold the image or the file that should be extracted. And I here expect to have an image key on the incoming request, which should then hold the, image I want to extract. So this instructs Multer to extract that image or that file on that image key on the incoming request before we continue with the other steps. The question just is, what does Multer do with that extracted image? Of course, we want to store it somewhere. So here in the file upload.js file, we can configure Multer a little bit. We can configure it to tell it where to store something and also which files to accept. First of all, I want to set a little filter here, a limit for our files. We can set a limit in byte here, and I want to set this to 500,000 bytes to have an upload limit of 500 kilobytes. And of course, you can adjust this to your personal likings here. Multer also takes a storage key, and here we can control how data should get stored. Now this storage key requires a Multer storage driver, and Multer has a built-in disk storage driver. So we can call Multer disk storage to generate such a driver, which we provide to storage. Now here we can set certain object properties on an object we provide to disk storage to configure that disk storage. And there we can specifically set a destination key to control the destination where files get stored, and also a file name key to control the file name that's being used. Now both take functions here. So we pass a function to each of these keys. The destination function here gets the request object, the file which was extracted, and a callback, which we have to call once we're done. The file name function here also gets the request object, also the file, and also a callback. Now let's maybe start with the file name. There, I first of all want to extract my extension of the incoming file. And for that, I will create a little helper constant up there, which I'll name MIME type map. This is a simple JavaScript object where I will map certain MIME types, which look like this, to certain file extensions. And I'll do this for image, PNG, and also for the two JPEG types we have. Why am I doing this? Because Multer gives us some information about the MIME type it found for the uploaded file. MIME types look like this and basically tell us which kind of file we're dealing with. So with this map, I can derive the right extension from the identified MIME type. So I can use my MIME type map here and dynamically access the property that matches my file.mime type. This is the file object Multer gives me, and there I have various fields. One of them is the MIME type Multer found. MIME type will look like this, and therefore then I extract the right extension here, because I dynamically access one of these properties here. These are valid properties in JavaScript, we just have to wrap them in quotes. I dynamically access one of these properties and get the extension that's mapped to it. So this gives me the extension I want to use. Then I want to call this callback, pass null as a first argument. We could throw an error here, pass in an error if something went wrong, but that shouldn't be the case here. And then the file name I want to use. And there I want to generate a unique ID, and for this we can reuse a package we installed earlier, the UUID package, and import v1 for example, and then call UUID to generate a random unique file name here, and then just add a dot and then the extension. So this generates a random file name with the right extension. This is passed as a second argument to callback, and this in the end is handled internally by Multer to then use this file name. Now in destination we do something similar for deriving the path where we want to store this. It's simpler though, I just have to call callback here. I got no error, so I'll pass null as a first argument, and then the string which describes the path where I want to store this. And here I want to go for uploads/images. And I will therefore create a new folder here, which I'll name uploads, and in there a new folder, images. And that is where I want to store my data, just like that. With all of that, the disk storage is configured. Now let's continue configuring Multer, because I also want to set up a so-called file filter, another property we can pass to the object we use to configure Multer.